Good morning, Paintgirlee here. It's just a little overcast here on the East Coast, and I thought before my football game came on this afternoon, I would do a little video, and I just thought I'd go ahead and record it, and if it turns out well, then I'll upload it. I've decided to start an art journal, and I'm encouraged to do that because of two ladies in particular. That would be Dede Willingham and Kathy Arbour, Arbour, that is, Kathy with a K. And both ladies are on YouTube. You need to check them out. They're amazingly talented ladies. And I purchased this ledger, they call it a single ledger, I believe, a couple of years ago, and I really like it, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And I was watching an art class that Kathy Arbour was doing on YouTube, and she was showing some of her art journals, and I thought, oh, well, that's what I can do with my ledger. So she also is encouraging us through her art class videos, to practice. So I was at a craft show yesterday and added some practice sketches to my ledger. Oh yeah, it says single entry right there. And so now I'm going to do page 1 of my art journal and see how it goes. But I thought I'd just show you. Now this ledger doesn't have too much written in it. There's a lot of blank pages, which is cool. So I decided I'm going to work on my page 1. So I'd sketched this, I think about maybe a week or so ago, just with pencil and a stump. This particular page, I had some flesh color paint left over, so I put it on this page and then sketched on top. And then I sketched, I guess, this a couple of days after that. Now this one last night I went through and I brushed a light wash of flesh over top of my sketched images, hoping that the graphite would not then transfer to the next page. Although I'll be journaling and working on top of that. It probably really doesn't matter, but that's what I did. It just give that a hue of flesh. So that's one. You can see probably where the graphite is smeared just a little bit, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me. And then while I was at the craft show yesterday, I worked on this one. Same thing. Last night when I got home, I put a wash of flesh color acrylic paint on top. And of course, I need to finish highlights, and if I'm going to do any eyelashes and all that jazz. But at least it's a start. And then I thought I would do a page of eyeballs, well, a 2-page spread at some point. Now this paper is on the thin side, so oh geez, now my paper clip. See, I just tore that paper clip got stuck there. So this, I decided I'm going to do 2 pages with different kinds of eyes, and then I'll collage around it. But what I didn't realize, because the paper is thin, I did pop a little hole in this guy's eye. A work in progress. And then I saw, as I was sitting at the craft show yesterday, I saw this really cool picture, and I thought, oh, let me see if I can draw that in my journal. And so I did her. Of course, the original is really cool. But I'll eventually work on her too as a 2-page spread. So that's my cool ledger. I probably should wipe some of that. Looks like a coffee drip there. Anyway, I think I have out most of the supplies that I'm going to need. I really don't have the capability of zooming in my camera. Still haven't figured that out. So I'm just going to drop it down manually a little bit. That's probably not too much to help. And my lighting is probably poor, but that all takes time to figure out, and I just haven't figured it out yet. So anywho, this is how I'm going to roll today. So I thought I'd like this first page to indicate calendar and time and the month November 2019. And I just picked out a few things out of my little bits of scraps and whatnot for journaling. And I don't have too much of a plan other than that. But I want to encircle the face. And so I pulled out one of my die cuts, a sheet of freezer paper under my page to protect the pages underneath. I was working on a watercolor that I saw a gal do the other day. I think her name is Cece, Creation Cece maybe on YouTube. And I really like what she did. And she used something called drafting tape to divide her paper. She was using watercolor. And I thought, I'm going to try that. Well, I don't have any drafting tape, but I thought washi tape should work because then I can pull it up. I think my camera might be on autofocus, and I don't know how to take that off once I'm here. Anyway, I used this washi tape, and when I peeled it off of my watercolor paper, it destroyed the paper. I couldn't believe it. So I was thinking I'd like to cover up my tabbed letters over here to the right, but now I'm afraid to use the washi tape I have. And I'm so cheap, I don't want to waste any of my Tim Holtz or Jane Davenport tape. Okay? So I'm just going to try to be careful. So one of the things that I pulled out is this calendar. It says 2019 at a glance. I don't really want the at a glance there, so I think I'm going to take that off. Ruler technique. See how this works for me. I'm usually do things eyeball it instead of measure. I just couldn't be bothered with measuring most times. This paper is very thin, so that's not a problem. I tried to do this with my watercolor paper the other day, and oh geez, I had a heck of a time. This didn't work so good because I don't think I want any cut edges. So I'm going to nestle that fold line is that's pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and rip that edge off. Now, the real trick is going to be deciding where I want to put my circle. I can see through that a little bit. And you know what? I have more of this somewhere, so it's not a tragedy if I don't do it right. And I can I think I have a little wiggle room. So I'm just going to dry. Now, of course, initially this is going to be a cut edge, but then I'm going to rough that up, hopefully, once I get it cut. And I want to take off that at a glance. That way. I'll just give myself a fold line there. Somebody I watch online on YouTube, and I'm trying to remember who it is. She's got a ruler that's got a jagged edge that she tears. Oh, it's so cool. I buy too many supplies. I really try to be good and not do that, but whoop, roll her down. So I haven't bought that. If they call it a chair ruler, they may call it a chair ruler. I don't know. It's really right. And I think I'm going to tear some of this off of the bottom. Well, let me cut that and see. I was also listening. I listen to a lot of videos while I sit and work on my projects for my craft shows. And the one gal was saying, how do we ever live without our Tim Holtz scissors? Amen to that. Whew. This is my newest pair, the little black handled pair. I love his scissors. If you do a lot of crafting or arting, I'm sure you have favorite tools that you're so glad you purchased. And my Tim Holtz scissors are one of those for me. The only thing I guess I don't like about them, they have a little bit of a ridge when they cut. Certainly not like a pinking shear, but I would like to have a pair that has smooth blades. All right, so this is what I'm thinking that I'm going to do there. And I think I'm going to take the bottom off of this. So I'm just thinking I want to crunch this down a little bit for my taste. I'm not too much into the bright, I don't want to say happy because my stuff's not dreary, but I'm not too much into the bright colors as far as scrapbooking or any of that stuff. Art journaling, junk journaling or any of that. I like the vintage here. Oh, looks like the man in the moon. I'm not sure that's what I'm going for. I'm going to take a little bit off here. So because I'm going to be using gold matte medium to paste this down, I need to use an ink that's water resistant or waterproof so that when I glue it down it doesn't move anywhere. All right, so I think that's good. Now I'm going to take my, and you could use the blade of scissors, but I do have this little, I don't know if it's Tim Holtz or it's a Ranger. Yeah, it's got Tim on it. It's got little blades in here that you can rough up the edges of your paper. I'm going to see if now this, again, is a page from a calendar. So the paper is very thin. I don't really want to tear it, but I do want to rough it up a little bit. And you could use, if you opened up, you had a smaller pair of scissors than this, you could, go in there and do that kind of thing. You don't need one of these wheels. Although at times it does come in handy. I love to, whenever I go into whatever store, I love to look at clearance stuff, and I've gotten this on clearance, I believe. There were 2 of them. I gave one away. All right, so that's okay. So now I want to grunge that up. And I bought a couple archival color inks. I don't want to use black, but I don't have too much in the way of choices of color. So I think I'm going to go with my coffee, archival ink coffee. And I saw another gal, she just took one of these little sponges that you put on the Tim Holtz inker, and she bent it in half and put it on a binder clip. So you have kind of like a little handle to use it. It kind of wears a little bit that way, but I want something a little smaller. I don't want it out, the sponge out flat. And I do have some other color on there, so I'm just gonna, I think that'll work well enough. We'll see. Now this is a, my sisters and I would say silky kind of paper. It's real slippery, you know, that calendar paper. So it's not taking real well to the ink, but I just really want to tone it down a little bit, grunge it up a little bit. So this is not the best inking you'll ever see, because it's not, it's kind of blobbing on here rather than going on smooth. And then I'm just going to hit it here and there and everywhere. I wonder if I put a white disc there, if maybe that will help stay focused. And I'm going to put something in this area where it's all open. Just want to get some of this ink under that spot here. And I don't need to really see all these dates. I just want to give the idea that I'm starting my art journal in 2019 in November. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, there's no November on there. Well, that's true, but I'm going to put November on here. And I wanted to get the 2019 in. So rather than go into the area of the page where the November was, all right. Get my little crumbles out of the way. So then as I was going through my bits for collaging, I found this. When I first started to follow Dede Willingham, I had left her a message and it said I didn't have much in the way of collage bits, so she sent me a little happy mail. But on the flip side of that calendar cover is November. So I think I'm going to take this. I turned Facebook off thinking I wouldn't have to deal with those little notification dings, but there we go. We're dinging. All right, so I want to go here like this, and possibly like that. I don't necessarily care about, well, I guess they could stay on. Okay, I'm just going to tear, and I can, you know, change this out or reshape it or change the size as I continue. I'm tearing, I'm trying to stay on, pay attention and stay on screen. I'm going to get rid of some of this background here. And all this stuff too, this is a calendar paper. You know what I mean? It's that real slippery, glossy finished paper. So I'm excited about this book and finally deciding how I'm going to use my journal. All right, so that might do me. That might be good. And then Dede also sent me a few other things as well. So I thought this was kind of cool. Like, I didn't pull out stuff according to color, which that's what they recommend you should do. I mostly pulled out things that I wanted to use and that I liked. So I was thinking I might be able to get this in the background. Now this is just a piece of loose leaf paper. Well, I guess she had some leftover paint and looked like she maybe jelly plated this. So being she's one of the gals that inspires me, I want to get this on my first page. So I think I'm going to take that and I'm going to take off these holes from the where you will put them into a binder. And I think, I hate to cover a lot of that up, but I think I'm going to cut it on the diagonal here. Not cut it, tear it. Okay, let's see. And again, I don't know if you can see that. I probably am not over. I always move the book right here. I don't want to miss my, lose my tabs. So if I put that there, and I don't mind this coming in the circle and peeking through. That kind of looks cool to me. I'll have my November down here. Let's see what else I pulled out. I found this little journaling card that says my happy place. So I want to get this in here. I'm going to tear this. Because this will indicate other pages in my book. Not sure about placement. Maybe there. Trying to, my space is quite limited. I tend to be a messy crafter. It sounds like maybe the dogs have to go out. So if you hear any noises, it's my hubby taking the dogs out. clean up some of my bits here so I can get a little more organized. And I have plenty of space. That's not it. I tend to crowd myself in with tools and mediums and things that I use regularly, and then I don't put them away. Sip of coffee. And then I found this, and I kind of like the coloring. It says creative. Let me see if I can move this stuff out of the way. Creativity, I should say. And I thought that kind of went with the, so I think I'm going to put that underneath there. And again, I'm just going to rough up tear my edges. So when I glue this down, hopefully they'll meld into the other pages. Okay. Gosh. Now my sisters are going to start texting. And I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm just going to ask them to use the other feed. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. All of a sudden, I'm popular. Okay, so I'm going to put that maybe there. And I don't know where I got this. I don't know if Dede sent me this or not, but it's got really cool handwriting on one side and a big stain mark here, which I'm loving. And then some really cool pictures. So, ooh, you know, some of this stuff I hate to, but I think I'm going to save these top two and sacrifice these on the bottom. The problem with this ruler is that it's so long. So I'll put that aside for another. For another project. And I don't think you really have to know what you're doing. Just everybody knows what they like, and you have your own taste and your own eye for things. So if you just, Dede recommends doing things by color, which I think that's really solid advice, especially if you're just starting to do any kind of art journaling. But where I used to work, they had, we would do different mailings, and I would design some pieces or whatever. And I was told that their design guy, you know, he knows what he's doing and he knows art. And I said, well, that's all well and good and true, but I know what I like and I'm the customer. So you know what you like. There's no right or wrong. You know, do your own thing. Now, some of this stuff I'm sure I'm not going to use, but I need something across the bottom. But I don't think I want that. And I just pulled out some things that I thought, you know, I just enjoy looking at. Flowers. Here's some fans. I also have some big butterflies, which kind of makes you think of, you know, spreading your wings, doing your own thing. I think these are Tim Holtz things. I mean, really. I don't think there's too much of Tim Holtz stuff that I don't like. Look, there's one in a frame. That's kind of cool. And I'm going to stamp on top as well. So I kind of like this gal in this frame. And then there's a frame with a butterfly, a fan in it, which is kind of cool. The other problem for me is I have a hard time throwing things out. See, I save every little bit of every little thing. And after a while, you start to wonder about your sanity. But I have used little tiny bits and see, this is just like a doily, like a tatted doily, or may have been crocheted, just sitting underneath an old frame. So I love that. Love it. So let me see if I can use that. Of course, after I first drew this face on this first sheet, first page, I'm thinking I need to start to think a little about layout when I'm putting my sketches on these pages, and change things up and move things around. So I've kind of thought more about that when I start sketching. All right, let me move some of this stuff off to the side. I think I'm going to put another piece of this. Now this book, let's see, it measures, if you're curious, it's probably 7 by not quite 12 inches. Looks like 11 3/4. So I think I'm going to offset the lettering I have at the top with some lettering at the bottom. And I don't mind that being a straight edge because there it's a straight edge of the page. And maybe I'll move this November over a little bit. Creativity. Might not mush that. Let me put that there. I think I'm going to try to cover up some of this bottom area with this magazine page. I mean, there's so many beautiful images and magazines. This co-op that I have some of my artwork in, it's about 60 vendors, and one of the vendors there, she's been so gracious to me. Shout out to Chris. And she's given me all her old magazines that she was cleaning out, and I've enjoyed going through those so much. And some of these pictures are just so pretty. So I think I'm going to come across the bottom like that, right up onto my calendar. Put my creativity in there. And put a piece of my lettering down there. I'm sorry, I can't, as I mentioned, I can't figure out how to use my camera settings while I'm recording. They keep telling me all you have to do is download the app, and I download the app, and it just doesn't work for me. So I don't know if those gals are using an older app that allows them to do that, but the one I found, I cannot get it to. I'll have to try different, well, I have to keep working at it. I'm going to upset the cart here, sliding in my freezer paper. All right, so, and when I first started doing this, I was thinking you have to use everything whole, and you don't want to rip anything or tear anything. I don't think like that anymore. So I think I'm going to use a part of a butterfly here. Ooh, just ripped that puppy in half. I think I'll put that there. And then I'll probably add some paint to like frame this out. And then I'm going to want to stamp some things on there, whether I do a stencil and stamp, whether I do images or letters or whatever. So I think this is kind of what I want. I think that looks pretty cool. So, Dede recommends taking a picture of your layout so that as you take things down, if you don't remember where you had it, you can look at your picture. So I'm going to take her advice because she is a seasoned artist and collagist. Is that a word? Don't know. This up. So I want to continue with that. Not so much this piece, but some of this other stuff. Dogs are going out, so if you hear noises, that's what that is. Dogs need a break. So I'm going to get my archival ink from Ranger back out and just add some ink that won't move when I put my matte medium on. And just wherever I think I want a little additional color. I just don't want all this white. And I probably could, after I get this glued down, go ahead and do it, but I can always add some. But I'm going to just go ahead and do it now. See, I don't like all these white edges where I tore this stuff. Oh, that's a little darker. That looks cool. Tone down my little doves. Yeah, so my husband woke up with a cold yesterday morning, and we had to go set up for the craft fair that we were in. And poor guy, he suffered it through. Felt lousy most of the day, but he's a keeper. And now I'm just going to continue here. I have no idea where I got this cool paper. It has to be from Dede. I don't know. I'm doing that a little darker there to kind of almost make it look like the edges were burned. And again, this color is ink I'm using is coffee. Now, some would glue this down with a glue stick and then come back with the matte medium. I don't know about that. But I guess that's one way you could do that. I might trim off some of this. Like when I'm ripping and tearing this stuff, sometimes I try to come back in and get that extra little bit of white off. Shouldn't have done it, but I did. On Etsy, one just came yesterday. I probably paid way too much for it, but it's it's called a day book. It's got, I think, like 200 pages in it. They're all written on. Oh, I should just show you. Let's see if I can see what I. Kind of stiff from being up and down all day yesterday. Oh gosh, it's not even going to all fit in frame. This one is 16 inches by maybe 6.5. And I mean, I knew the pages were all written on. That's fine. But has really, and they're all X'd out. It's all in pencil. And I was thinking I could journal on these pages, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if I should just use these pages to create journal cards. Because I hate to cover up some of this stuff. It's like really cool stuff. Like this person purchased 2 cans of beans for 20 cents. What is this one? A glass, I can't read it, beet maybe, for 12 cents. I don't know what a glass beet would be, but that's what it looks like. I mean, this is just too cool to cover up, right? It's got the person's name. Some of the stuff I don't understand. Eggs, cheese, and bread, 62 cents. Ice, flour, yeast, and soap, $1.23. I mean, really, can you stand it? Look how cool this is. So I thought if I take these pages out and use them like as journaling cards, then I can use the cover and create maybe a junk journal. I mean, it's pretty rough. Of course, I was trying to like not talk about this when my husband was around, and of course he was taking the dogs out right when I mentioned it. I'm going to get in trouble for that. Okay. All right, so let's continue inking my bits here. Sponge is really taking a beating. Creativity. And this glossier paper, this will move, I guess, for a little bit until it dries. It'll take a little longer for it to dry. Now I'm going to use the Golden Matte Medium. Most times when I do any kind of paperwork and I'm gluing two things together, I usually use Mod Podge because the Mod Podge is then sandwiched between two things. It's been my experience that Mod Podge does not always dry completely. And then your pages stick together, or whatever you use it on sticks to the counter or sticks to your windowsill. So I just use it in between two pieces of paper. But with this, I thought I better go ahead and use the Golden Matte Medium because then I don't have to worry about it. Or not worry, but think about it. All right, I think that's all I'm going to do with that for right this second. I don't think I want to dull this. I think I want this to be brighter. All right, so let's move all my bits aside here. All these crumbs you see are from my, I shouldn't do this with my hand. And then I'm going to use another tip. So I don't mind some wrinklage, but I don't want, it to be too lumpy. So I'm going to start with this first page, and I can always trim that. This turns out okay. Well, okay, because it's not. There's not any right or wrong. So I have all this ready so that when I start to make a mess, I'm prepared. Ha ha ha. Famous last words. All right, blue brush, which I have in water here. Got these on clearance at Joann Fabric for $5. I think we're $4 or $5 in the set. And they've been great. Not only look cute, they've been great. So I'm going to put the medium on both sides of the image I want to glue down and where I'm gluing it. And I've got my freezer paper underneath. And I have somewhere here a sheet of, oh, that's what that was. That was I have a sheet of my, it's like palette, it's not like, it is palette paper. I thought that was regular paper. Let me see, a waxy surface. Anyway, I'm going to use this to put my medium out on. I keep moving my project the wrong way. I am not the best collage person you'll ever. I'm just going to glue some of this, paint some of this on here. And then I'm going to put some where I want it on my book. Right down the side of my little chick's face. I guess it's a chick. And I'm going to get this one right to the edge of my paper. Got some of that going over onto the tab, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me. And then I'm going to come on top. And then I'm going to take my plastic card, brush that out. All right, now I wanted this up in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and add my matte medium to that, and then the back of my glue down piece. Put that there. I feel like my voice is getting quieter, and I don't hear so well, so that doesn't annoy me, but it's difficult when I'm watching other artists and then I can't hear them. There's two girls in particular. Oh my gosh, they're such slow talkers. Okay. I just want to, I think I have an idea of where I had my pieces, but make sure I'm gluing down what I want in the order that I want. So next I want to do my calendar. And I'm going to put that like that. So I'm going to definitely need some more medium. And this is not inexpensive. Mod Podge is very reasonable. The golden matte medium is a little on the pricey side, but you can get that on sale at your local crafts. And it's really good stuff. So if you can get it and then use a coupon. Sometimes it's a little fiddly getting this stuff, getting the glue on it. And you're going to get messy, you know. So if that freaks you out, you need to put on a pair of gloves. Now I want to get this around her face. Her little chin there. Glue that down. I might mush this out a little bit first before I put that top layer on. You know, I'm not too concerned with wrinkles. I have a napkin journal. I love the wrinkles in that. Just going to come right over the face. Kind of brush this out. And sometimes I take my finger and I'll rub it like this, but if you do that, make sure you have enough of the medium on your finger. Because if not, the paper will stick to your hand and then you'll get a tear. And that's not always fun to have to correct or deal with. Cool. Cool. I am getting some wrinklage here. Just not sure I can mash that out without it tearing because it's so wet. Okay. Check my cheat photo here. All right, so I'm going to do my little that can pop over. I should have torn this edge. Like I can cut if I have overhang on the outside pages of the book. That's okay because I can either tear or cut that. But inside the binding, where the binding is, that'd be a little harder to deal with. So just cut that a little bit. I don't want to cover up all of my 2019. Can you believe it's almost 2020? My goodness. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to put my happy place right there, I think. Now this is already got medium on it. So I'll just lather up this. And I'm using some pressure there with the brush too to help maybe. Now this is cardstock paper, so that's a little easier to get down and get smooth than the calendar or magazine paper. All right, next I believe I want my November. I think I'm going to push this over a little bit and put it there. I like it there. Add a little more here. And then I'm getting messy. I do want it straight. All right. Let's go with it there. And then when I finish and this dries completely, I'll put some varnish over my page. And I got something dark there I don't want. I'll push that out of the way. I think that might be a bit of ink or foam for my ink sponge. All right. Now I think I want to get my bottom piece on here that I'm going to cover this area up with right here. That's this piece down here. So I'm going to eyeball that. I think originally I was thinking I'd like to have the calendar on top, but I'm going to put creativity here. So that'll kind of mask that. So I'm just going to make sure I've got it to the edge. I can trim off the bottom. So I'm going to go with it there. No, I'll put out a little more medium because I think I'm not going to have quite enough. Now I am getting some where this is lifting up a bit here. I mean, it seems like it's smooth, and then I guess, I don't know, it's like it's alive. And it starts bubbling up and making little grooves. Okay, so let me get a goodly amount here. My freezer paper keeps wiggling out of its spot. And I think if you are more generous with your glue or your medium, you probably have a better shot of it smoothing out, you know, squishing that glue out the sides and getting it down flat. But I don't know, maybe I've got the backwards. I often do have things backwards. Just said to my husband yesterday, why do I think differently than most people? I have a hard time with things like, simple things like turning your clocks forward and backwards. I always think of it the opposite of what it really is. All right, where's my card? Get that extra goo off. Oh, I guess that is from the, I didn't think that would, well, at least I don't have any white spots, but I didn't think that ink would come off, but it is on my, when I scrape that card. I didn't think that would move. Maybe it wasn't totally dry because I'm using that slippery, glossy surface. All right, now I wanted to put some more of this lettering piece down in this corner. Of course, I just thought, oh gosh, I need this to dry before so I'm going to have to get use my heat gun. There. I do have a straight edge there. Just noticed that. Oh, well. It will be all right. I want to do creativity, but I also need I was going to put my butterfly down here, but I think I want it in this space to kind of cover that area. Maybe this isn't Tim Holtz. Maybe I cut this out of I don't know. Doesn't matter, I guess. If you have any bits that really raise up after it dries, you can always come back in with a smaller brush or a little toothpick and put a little glue under. I think I want to make this one. Maybe I do want it straight. So I'm going to put this in between my little frame down there and the edge of my calendar. Kids, I'm really messy. Maybe. Okay. I don't think it takes too long for this stuff to dry. See, you got a little bit up here. Let me see if I can move my book down without getting it right up here. My 2019 right here. A little piece. I didn't get glued down properly, so I'm going to add some medium to that. And hopefully all right, glue brush back in my jar. Get rid of that. Get my baby wipe. Clean off some of my glue. Now I've got to think about what I want to put on here as far as, oh my gosh, I've got the glue all over my rings. Didn't think about that. A lot of excess glue there. I'm going to dry this with my heat. I think I'm going to stamp in black. But I think I want to stencil. Do I want to stencil before I stamp? Probably. I'm not a great stenciler. I thought maybe I was an okay stenciler, but I don't get the images as nicely stenciled as I would like. So that's a little disappointing. But I keep practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Not only in your drawing, but in all the different techniques that you need to use. Okay, so I wish I knew how to mute this without losing my without stopping the video and all that. There is a little microphone thing there. I wonder what happens here. Oh, maybe I can mute it. I'll try. Hopefully I won't ruin it. And I'll try to mute this and then come back on. You'll just have to watch me dry it. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to soak my rings. All right. So let's see if I can mute you so you don't have to hear this hair dryer thingy. Okay, of course I had a coughing fit while I was doing that, so I guess that was a good thing. Excuse me. I got a couple of new stamps. I got this one's a retired Stampin' Up, but I like those little swirly things, so I think I might use that. And I have somewhere sometimes I throw all these little tiny ones that I use regularly. I love that leaf. Maybe I'll use that. I'm looking for, here it is. It's like a little script patch. I'm going to use that. And I think I'll use my narrow block. Yeah, that'll work. So as well, that might be all I need to do is stamping. Of course, I can always come back and add, right? A lot of times I stamp on top of that old mouse pad. And I don't have too much in the way of stencils. I do have, that's kind of cool, but boy, this is really hard to stencil around. And I'm terrible with cleaning them. I just, you scrub them and you scrub them, especially something like this. It's got all these little things, and then like you wreck it. Here's my Tim Holtz ones. I kind of like that. All right, I'm going to put those aside. But I had a swirly thing I thought I purchased. And I thought I threw it back in my drawer here. Oh boy. Well, that's disappointing. Unless I'm just not seeing it, which that happens. That's a possibility. Maybe it's maybe there's a Tim Holtz one. I've got it attached there, and I didn't look through that whole pile. I haven't stenciled for a little while, so it should be in here. Well, we're going to make do with what's right there. If I can't be organized, I have to live with disappointment when I can't find what I am looking for. Maybe I latched it on here with the rest of these. Trying to think. No, it's not here. Or who I got it from. I know there's nothing out by the kitchen sink. All right, I think I'm just going to use that one. I don't know that I'm going to add any additional words because I already have my happy place on here and November and my creativity. I don't think I'm going to come in with any color pencil or anything. I may a little bit around here, but if I do that, I'm going to let it dry really well. And I was thinking that little swirly stamp I might like to have on. I think I want to use black ink to stamp and white paint to stencil. Some of these gals make this stenciling stuff look so easy, but that is an art in itself as well. And I really wish I could find my swirly. I thought all my but I thought I had it right here or in my drawer. Well, I can always add it, right? And when I find it, I can always add it, just that you won't see it. Had a little bit of a avalanche here. Things I like to keep right next to me because I never know when I'm going to use them, and I can just have it here at the ready. But then when I go to find it, I should learn by now that that technique does not work. All right, let it go, Laura. Okay, so I have another little piece, I believe. Yeah, here we go. This I can use to put my paint on. I don't want to do a whole lot of this because, like I said, I'm really not that good at it. I tend to, my paint tends to leak under my stencil. So, like I said, this is an art in itself, the stenciling. But I started out painting and working with ceramics, and I always wet my sponge and then dried it out as best I could in a paper towel. But then Dede said use a dry sponge, otherwise your paint's going to run underneath your stencil, which makes sense. So I'm starting to practice stenciling with a dry sponge. I am better. I am getting better. But I may only use this one, Harlequin type. All right, so I'm going to go for it. Just going to go for it, right? So I have my little piece of dry sponge here. Now, a lot of the girls use makeup sponges. I always forget to look for those when I go to Walmart because I don't wear makeup anymore. Gave that up years ago. All right, so I'm going to just use some white, and I'm just going to pull out mine. Now, this is a Deco Americana Snow White. And I don't think I want too much of a heavy imprint. I'm not going to tape it down. I'm just going to put my sponge in that white paint. And trying to do this where you can see what, hopefully, let me bring this down. Now, maybe a pounce rather than a, don't know. And then I always feel like I need to peek before I move my stencil. See, now I didn't really want it to be that, I didn't really want that hard edge. So I'm going to see if I can soften that up a little bit. Not too much. Huh. All right. So now I'm going to use more in towards the center. They always say to do things in odd numbers, so I'm maybe just going to do 3 spots of this. See, it's not that great. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If you have a suggestion, leave me a message, please. Maybe I have too much paint on my sponge. Maybe I think I might knock that color back a little bit. Some of my ink, pad ink. All right. So I'm going to put that in. And that quickly, oh, here it is. We'll just see how maybe some of this looks. I'm not going to apply any more paint on my. A couple little bubbles. No, I said maybe 3s, but maybe I'll do it in, well, let's see. Better. I think that's a little better. I don't want to get too carried away with that because, like, so far I'm liking it okay. Right. Coming down the home stretch here. Let's see. An hour and a half, an hour, 20 minutes. That's not too bad. The other thing I've learned the hard way, you might say, is to stamp and then stamp off onto something and make sure you have a good imprint. Now, I don't care so much about the writing stamp because I kind of want that. Maybe I'll do it. I'll stamp off. What do they call that? A second generation stamp. So it's not real dark. I'm going to ink this up. I'm not too worried about getting to the edge of that stamp because I don't want a hard edge. Although I have a hard edge and I don't have any right there, so I don't really want, well, I guess that's okay too. So I'm going to apply some more ink. I'm going to stamp off most of it. And then where I don't want any on her face, I might go like this. That's okay. Apply some more ink. I just got a napkin that's got script on it, so I'm anxious to use that somewhere. And I think that's all I need of that. I wanted to get some of these leaves in. There's a company called, I guess you would say it, Lavinia. They probably have other stuff, but I know them as having stamps. There's a gal on YouTube by the name of Rach0113. Oh my gosh, she's fabulous. Like if you're into stamping and card making and journal pages and stuff like that, she's amazing. But she uses a lot of their stamps, and I only have a few, but oh my gosh, they are so cool. I think this may be one of theirs. Oh, I got the wrong. I want black. Again, I'm going to do the second generation, so I don't have a real dark imprint. Just want a faint little image here and there. Well, you didn't really see that on the butterfly, and that's okay. All right. I think the last thing I want to do is I want to put that little swirly stamp on her brain. And I think I want those bottom three. Maybe like that. Ah! If I want it darker on her head. So I'm just going to go for it. Oh, yeah. That's cool. I like that. Put a little there. I'll put a little one over here, maybe. Nice. I really like that. So now you can see I have some overhang here on my pages. So on my page. So I need to trim that. And I guess I will actually put the date on it in the bottom corner here, and maybe sign it as well. But I won't do that until after I put the varnish on it. I haven't had too much luck with, I know like the Posca pens are paint, but when I use those, and it could be the surface that I'm using it on, but I then put tint to do that. So I think I might call this finished. I'm just going to get my little scissors and see if I can trim this. Without too much trouble. It's still not quite dry. It's still a little damp. And I am getting a little bit of my page edge here, but it's okay. It's not too bad. The other thing I like about these, no, I don't cut straight, but the other thing about the Tim Holtz scissors, I have no chance of cutting straight. I don't know whether it's just a mental thing or whether there's something in the design of these scissors, but I do cut better when I use them. All right, I'm going to come across the top. Not worrying about those little bits, and then a little bit across the bottom. Get my freezer paper out of the way. Probably wax paper would work better as a barrier, but I don't have any of that in my craft room. Am I annoying you yet? I don't want to. I don't want to make a mess now. This close to being finished. All right. So that's it. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm going to let it dry, leave it open, and let it dry really well. So I just have my really cool ledger book with my ABC tab there at the top. And then my little drawing. And I have my first page of my art journal finished. All right, kids, I think that's a wrap. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're inspired like I have been inspired by Dede Willingham and Kathy Arbour. I appreciate those two gals very much. And if you would, give me answer any questions you might have. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.